Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you've been having so much fun. Guys, algebra is really nice. I promise you. Only if you follow the necessary rules. If you do not and you do your own thing, where there is an equal sign, you then remove it, or wherever there is not, then you add it, or you subtract when you're supposed to add. Those are just the little things that are going to give you a problem. I promise you. Make sure that you do understand algebra, guys. Algebra is in every chapter of mathematics. In geometry, there is some algebra that you need to do when you are adding and subtracting. In stats, there is some algebra that you need to do. So just make sure that you really get a grasp of what algebra is all about. Now we're going to look at the very last concept of algebra, especially question 1. This is simultaneous equations. Guys, simultaneous equations has a lot of marks. You need to get those marks. Solving for x normally is like 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks. But with simultaneous equations, most of the time, the minimum is 5 marks, and then the maximum is normally like your 7 marks. Imagine they give you 7 marks just for free. You know, as people normally say, just for control. So you must make sure that you do get those marks, please. But before you do that, let me tell you what simultaneous equation is all about. So, when we talk about equations with fractions first, right, because that's what we normally use when we're talking about simultaneous, we can then solve these by first multiplying, right? What are we multiplying by? The LCD on both sides. We are making sure that we don't have any denominators, and then we can then hoy everything that needs to be done there. It is also important to make restrictions. What do I mean? The denominator must not be 0. You know, on that nice thing of yours that you like called a calculator, as soon as you divide by 0, it will say undefined or it will say error. So make sure that you make those restrictions. If maybe you have a over x minus 1, the x value can never be 1, right? So my restriction is x cannot be equal to 1. Because as soon as x becomes 1, it becomes 1 minus 1, which is 0. And a over 0, unless you can solve it, it will forever be undefined. Now, with simultaneous equations, it's when you are solving for 2 variables in 2 equations simultaneously. What does simultaneously mean? At the same time, concurrently, one after the other, right? And we normally use what we call the substitution method, right? There's also elimination method, which I know you know about, but mainly, if you are having a linear equation and a quadratic equation, just try to use substitution at all times, because really that's the one that you always mostly gonna get, simultaneous that has a linear and a quadratic equation. Then always look for the variable that is easiest to isolate. Guys, you know, this one is one point that worries me the most, because you guys will have a 2x squared plus 3x plus 5 equal to y squared, I mean. And then a person will try and make the x squared to be the subject of the formula, and they want to take out the square root. Why are you troubling yourself like this? Just look at the variable that is easier. So you look at the equation that has one variable that you can just make the subject of the formula, and then everything else to one side. But if you have 2 x's and one is squared and the other one is squared, then x cannot be made the subject of the formula there. If you have 2 y's, one is squared and the other one is not, y cannot be made the subject of the formula there. So please make sure that you do understand that. Subject of the formula means it's only one x, and then on the other side, it's y and constants, not any other x, right? So that's what I mean when I say, look at the one that is easiest to isolate. But let's look at some questions just to try and see exactly what do I mean. Now, firstly, I said fractions, right? Here I said we must multiply by the LCD. So my LCD first will be equals to x minus 1, right? What do you do with the LCD? You multiply every term by the LCD. So it becomes x multiplied by x minus 1 plus 2 over x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 1 equal to 4 multiplied by x minus 1. Then you can see that your x minus 1 and your x minus 1, that's a numerator and denominator, will divide each other. And then from there, I will have x squared minus x plus 2. And then on that side, it will become minus 4x and then plus 4 equal to 0, right? So I multiply that, it becomes 4x. Take it to the other side, it becomes a minus 4x. You multiply those two, it becomes minus 4. The other side, it becomes a positive. And then from there, this will be x squared, like term, the x and the 4x, which will give me minus 5x. And then the 2 and the 4, which will give me plus 6 equal to 0, right? And then you will have x, because I need to factorize this quickly, it will be x and x. I need the factors of 6 such that they give me 5, but my sign must be a negative and a negative, right? So that will either give me plus 6 and minus 1 equal to 0, right? And then you can then simplify this. The 6 must be a negative, sorry about that. The 6 must be a negative because the middle term is a negative, right? So this will be a negative and that will be a plus. So minus 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Minus 6 times that will be a negative 6. So it means the 6 and the 1 will not work then, you see. So that's how you then try to test these answers. So lastly, my actual factors will then be negative 3 and minus 2. And then my x will be equals to positive 3, or my x will be equals to positive 2. But what is my restriction? X can never be 1. That's all that you need to know about the restriction. And then you will be done. But with these two, you can see already they will both work, right? Because none of them will give me the denominator as a 0. Now, let's look at simultaneous. Simultaneous, they will always say to you, solve for x and y. But don't make the mistake of thinking at all times you will start with solving for x. At times you will start with solving for y. But then here it's convenient that we're actually going to start with x. But it's not always the case. So you label this equation 1, you label that one equation 2. And then you will then say from equation 1, I create equation 3, where I isolate one variable. So it becomes x is equals to 5 minus 3y. And we call this equation number 3. And then I will say substitute equation number 3 into equation number 2, right? So it's a language, this thing, guys. You're communicating with me. You are telling me what you are doing. Therefore, this will be 5 minus 3y. All of this is squared minus 3 into 5 minus 3y. And why do I have a lot of equal signs here? Oh, this is supposed to be a plus. Sorry about that, guys. I have a lot of equal signs. So it's like I'm doing what you like the most, where you add a lot of equals to there. And then plus 10y equals to 8y squared minus 18, right? And then you simplify this quickly. It therefore gives me 25 there. Minus 5 times that is 15 by 2, it becomes 30y, and then plus 9y squared minus 15 plus 9y plus 10y minus 8y squared, and then plus 18 equal to 0. And then I will then simplify it from here, right? So the 25 and the 15 and the 18 are like terms. So 25 minus 15 is 10, plus the 18 will give me 28. So already I know that I have plus 28, right? And then minus 30 plus 9y will give me minus 21y. And then do I have another y here? Yes, the 10y there. So 21y minus 21y plus 10 will be minus 11y. So this is minus 11y. Let's look at the y squared. 9y squared and minus 8y squared. It becomes just y squared, right? So this will be y squared equal to 0. And then you factorize this, right? If it's possible to factorize. If you don't know how to factorize, just go to your calculator quickly, and then you can then solve it from there, right? So I need 28, and you look at what are the factors of 28 such that I will get 11. So I will just write them here. 28 will then be 14 and 2, right? Which gives me 10 normally. And I will have also, let me just check something, guys. I think there's one value that we did not do right here, because then I must get it to be a 10, right? So I have minus 30 plus 9, that's minus 21, right? And then plus 10, that's minus 11, okay? So that is fine. 25, 15, that gives me 10. And then the 18 there, that gives me 28, okay? So we did do the right thing. And then 9y squared and the 8y squared will definitely give me y squared, all right? So you can see then, if you are not able to find your factors, you just go to the quadratic equation, right? So quickly, I'm just going to test this quickly. This is going to be 121 minus 4 into 28, right? And then you can see that 121 minus 4 multiplied by the 8 there will give me 32. That's 2 there. Sorry. And then 4 multiplied by that will be 8. So that will be 11 there. 121 minus 112. It will then give me 9, right? So it will be square root of 9. So this will be 3, right? So already you can see that I do have my factors. So what must I multiply with 3 so that it gives me the 28 will then be what you then need to do, right? So I'm just running out of time, but that's what you will then need to do there. So this means it will actually be 11 plus 3 over 2, which is equals to 7. Good, you see. So now I have y minus 7 and y minus 3. Do you see? So you don't necessarily then need to give up because you are not finding the answer, right? So I was just trying to test for you so that you can see what's happening. And then from there, my y will be equals to 7, or my y will be equals to 3. And then substitute this into equation 3. Remember, our equation 3 was 5 minus 3y. So it was x is equals to 5 minus 3 by 7, which will give me 5 minus 21, which will be negative 17. And then here it will be x is equals to 5 minus 3 by 3, and then it will be 5 minus 9, and this will be equals to negative 4, right? So let's just verify quickly. This is actually 16, not 17. So this is 16, you see. So please do make sure that you look at your answers once you are done. So that's what simultaneous is all about. Now the summary is you solve quadratic equations by factorizing, completing the square, and the quadratic formula. Always check your solutions. That was our roadmap. Guys, I hope you've had so much fun. I showed you that you can fumble around. As you are doing that, you are just doing what it's necessary for you to solve this. I've had so much fun. From me, the maths doctor, until I see you next time. Remember, mathematics is food for the soul.